Let's start with something simple. What would you do to make life more affordable for Ontarians? Ms. Horvath, you got the first 45 on this.
Thanks, Steve. It's certainly an issue that I keep hearing about no matter where I go in Ontario. People are very worried about what the future holds. Young people are giving up hope that they'll ever buy their own home. Renters are worried about the cost of rents going up. Everyday folks in this province should be able to afford everyday life. And so our plan does a lot of things to help with that. Not only make sure that we address rent controls in this province and make sure people can afford to buy their own homes, but also relieve some of the expenditures that people now are paying out of their pocket. We'll also be making sure we have a $20 minimum wage in this province, getting gas prices into a place where people can afford them by getting the...
Thank you.
Okay,
Lots of time to pick up on this in a moment. Stephen Del Duca, you're next.
This is such an important point. You know, every single Saturday morning, I go out to the local grocery store and buy the groceries for my household. So the prices that you see going up in your day-to-day lives, that's something that everyone across this province experiences. Earlier today, standing with members of the new Ontario Liberal team, I signed the affordability pledge that we put forward. 19 specific ideas that will save you real money and make your life easier and more affordable. For example, buck a ride province-wide, $1 transit fares right across this province for municipal and for provincial transit systems. We're going to take 8% off prepared meals under $20, and we're going to give our most vulnerable seniors a $1,000 top-up on their old age security pension while we bring back rent control. These are just some of the ideas in our plan.
Very good. Mr. Ford, you're up next.
Well, thank you so much. You know, the economy means absolutely everything in this election. Folks, you're going to have a clear choice. You're going to vote for parties, all three of them, that want to hike your taxes, bring back the license plate stickers, and increase the gas tax. All three of them want to do that. I'm cutting the gas tax. I'm getting rid of the license plate stickers. And we're getting rid of the Del Duca wind tolls that they put on. We're going to make sure our economy thrives. Under the previous government, we had lost 300,000 jobs. We have gained 550,000 jobs with 338,000 in the waiting. We brought back the auto sector. We're going to be the capital of electric vehicles anywhere in North America.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ford. That's time right now. We'll have more time, obviously, to get into this. Mr. Schreiner, you're 45, please.
Yeah, affordability is the #1 concern people talk to me about, especially housing affordability, which has gotten so much worse under the current government. A whole generation of young people are wondering if they'll ever be able to afford to buy a home. That's why the Ontario Greens Masterclass Housing Affordability Strategy is about getting speculation out of the marketplace so first-time home buyers have a level playing field. You know what, Mr. Ford, if you want to make transportation affordable, people, let's get big oil out of people's pockets. You can save $2,000 a year driving an electric vehicle. So let's make it affordable for the average person to own them. And when it comes to food prices, why would we pave over the farmland that feeds us? Let's grow food locally, and let's make it affordable for people at the grocery stores.
Thanks, Mr. Schreiner. The format now calls for direct one-on-one debate between two of you, and then we'll do the same thing again with another two of you in a moment. Stephen Del Duca and Doug Ford are in this first round. Mr. Del Duca, what do you think of his plan?
Well, first of all, I heard Mr. Ford speak just a moment ago. Again, it sounds like he's reading the script from 4 years ago, trying to fight the 2018 election all over again. Ontarians face new challenges in part because he's walked away from his responsibility to lead, and new challenges, of course, because of COVID. We are in the midst of an affordability crisis, which is exactly the opposite of what Mr. Ford and his team said they would solve 4 years ago. That's why, earlier today, I signed the 19-point affordability pledge for you. It's going to bring down the cost of transit. It's going to bring back rent control. We're going to boost the minimum wage and build in a real living wage. We're going to help seniors. We're going to do all of this and more in our fully costed and forward-looking plan. It's a plan you can count on. That's why I was proud to sign the pledge earlier today. This has to be more than just about empty words and slogans that you hear repeatedly coming from Mr. Ford and his team. People are hurting right now in this province, and Mr. Ford wants to act like he can skate right past that. Okay, like COVID never happened and the affordability crisis doesn't exist.
Let's give him a chance to respond. Mr. Ford.
Well, Mr. Del Duca, I just want to remind you, under yourself and the former Premier Kathleen Wynne, you destroyed this province. The economy was going downhill quicker than the Canadian bobsled team. It just continued going down. 300,000 jobs left this province. That's 300,000 people couldn't pay their rent, couldn't pay their mortgage, couldn't put food on the table because of your terrible policies. You want to bring back the license plate stickers, as you did,
No, we don't.
and you raised it
we
every
don't.
single time. You want to increase the tolls like you did before on the
we don't.
412
Check the
and
pledge.
18. You actually
Check the pledge.
It was your tolls. So
OntarioLiberal.ca.
and
Check
we're
the
going to
pledge.
cut, Mr. Del Duca. We're going to cut the gas tax. You're all in favor
We're
of
standing
hiking
by
the
that as
gas
well.
tax. You're in
No.
favor of
No.
the carbon tax. We aren't.
Oh, my goodness.
We're the only the
goodness.
only party that's going to cut taxes, put more money back into your pockets. We're creating an economy that is thriving right now with 550,000 jobs and 338,000 in the waiting.
All right, Mr. Del Duca, a word,
Yeah, look,
please.
you know, there's an old saying in life: you're entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts, Mr. Ford. And the truth of the matter is, you need to stop reading the script that looks like it came out of the fiction section. The people of Ontario are fed up with your slogans and your empty words. They want real action. People watching at home, you can go to OntarioLiberal.ca. You can see the 19-point affordability pledge. We're going to slash the cost of public transit. We're going to make it easier for you to buy meals. We're going to make it easier for you to pay your rent. We're going to boost the minimum wage. This is a positive plan
right,
to
last
make
word,
sure
Mr.
going
Ford.
forward you have what you need.
last word to
Not
Mr.
more
Ford,
empty
please.
words from Doug
Mr. Del
Ford and his
Duca,
team.
you said you want to do a buck a ride for the fares. 2 years ago, you were on the podium and you were saying it's dangerous to lower fares.
So why don't
do you
you
know why
support
you're
my
saying
plan?
it's dangerous? Because
Why don't you
didn't
support my
build
plan?
any subways
Support
whatsoever.
we opened
We're
the subway
building
in
subways, the
Vaughan.
largest
Okay, friends,
infrastructure.
jumping in, that's our time for this
Total
round.
fiction.
That's
Total
our time.
fiction.
That's our time for this one-on-one. More to come, of course. We'll have another one-on-one now between Mike Schreiner and Andrea Horvath. And Mr. Schreiner, I think you get to go first. Take it away. What do you think of the NDP's plan?
Well, first of all, one of the affordability concerns that doesn't get talked about enough in this province is how the affordability crisis is affecting the most vulnerable. You know, Mr. Ford's license sticker gimmick disproportionately benefits households who can afford to own lots of cars. Doesn't do anything for a family that can't afford a car. A kind of family that might be on Ontario Disability Support Payments or Ontario Works, which Mr. Ford has frozen their rates. The Ontario Greens put forward a clear plan to double ODSP rates and Ontario Works so we don't force people to live in legislative poverty. And I'm happy that Ms. Horvath listened to the fact that we were fighting for the most vulnerable in this province and amended the NDP plan. I encourage these other two leaders to do the same, because nobody, when we're in a cost of living crisis in this province, should be forced to live in legislated poverty.
Right,
You're,
Ms.
you're
Horvath?
absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Mike. And the best way to make sure that doesn't happen is by making sure that Mr. Ford doesn't get another term in office, because we've seen his record. There's no doubt that things were bad before Mr. Ford took office, but it's been 4 years and life's gotten harder for folks. It continues to get harder and harder. People are worried that their kids are going to have to move really far distances if they're ever going to be able to own their own home. But in most cases, we're seeing kids staying at home even longer in their parents' houses. And now that's not good for young people, and it sure isn't good for their parents, is what they tell me. So the cost of housing, getting rent control back into Ontario, getting the big oil companies under control by outlawing the gouging at the pumps, which we know is about to happen because there's a long weekend coming up. There's a lot of things we can do to relieve the pressure.
Okay, Mr. Schreiner,
but
you
we
wanna
have
come
to
back
make
on that?
sure that Mr. Ford is not reelected first.
When I knock on doors in this province, I don't care where I go in this province, housing affordability is the #1 issue people talk about. A whole generation are wondering if they'll ever be able to own a home. So many people not being able to afford their rent. That's why I'm so proud the Ontario Greens put forward what some have described as a masterclass plan in delivering the housing solutions we need in Ontario. Driving out rampant speculation, because homes should be for people, not speculators. Building more supply without paving over the farmland that feeds us.
I want to give Ms. Horvath a chance to comment on some of
And
these
I'm
things as well.
happy that Ms. Horvath has amended her platform 3 times now to keep up with this on housing.
Ms. Horvath.
Well, again, the very most important thing is to get a chance to actually relieve the pressure on people and families. And so there's no doubt that Mr. Ford's cuts are only going to hurt more. We need to elect a government that's going to take care of the affordability of life here.
Okay, thank you, you too. Althea.
That wraps up the first one-on-one segment.